EACC Math Post Review number 1. Today we'll walk through the review that you were to work on earlier, and I'll show you the answers. Find the mean. Well, mean is average, so I want to find the average of these three numbers. So we're dealing with fractions, but we do the same thing. We add them together, divide by the number of numbers there, so we'll divide by 3. So we have 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 2/3. Common denominator is 12ths, so 1/2 is 6/12, 1/4 is 3/12, and 2/3 is 8/12. Adding these together, we get 9 plus 8, we end up with 17/12. Well, last thing then, we need to divide it by 3 for the average or the mean. Divided by 3. And so when we divide with a fraction, we take the reciprocal of the one we're dividing by and multiply. So we end up with 17/36. So that would be the mean of those three fractions. Okay, number 2. We've got the three angles of a triangle. One thing you need to remember is that the three angles of a triangle, no matter what kind of triangle, always add up to 180. So there's our equation. I know that 2x plus 3x plus 2x plus 5 is equal to 180. So let's see here. We've got 5, 6, 7x plus 5 is equal to 180. So 7x is equal to 175. So x is equal to 25. Okay, now I've got to be careful here. They want us to find the largest measure of the angle, or the measure of the largest angle. So I need to put my 25 back in. So 2 times 25 is 50. 3 times 25 is 75. And 2 times 25 plus 5 is 55. So the correct answer is 75 degrees. Okay, and number 3, we've got a scale on a map. Shows half an inch represents 20 miles. How many inches would represent 25 miles? So this is a proportion problem. The scale, 1/2 inch is to 20 miles, as how many inches is to 25 miles? Cross multiplying, then we get 20x is equal to 12.5. And dividing both sides by 20, we get x is equal to 0.625. Now, some students are getting hung up here. That's not showing up as an answer, is it? Because we want it in a fractional form. So, if I want to convert this to a fraction, I need to know how to read decimals. This is 625 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 625 over 1,000. Okay, well, to reduce that, I know these are both divisible by 25. 25 goes into 625 25 times, and 25 goes into 1,000 40 times. And these are both divisible by 5, so I get 5 over 8. So in fractional form, my answer is 5/8. Number 4, to write a number in scientific notation, we first represent the number as a number between 1 and 10, so I'm going to move that decimal clear up here between the 3 and the 2. So I have 3.24, and we can leave off the trailing zeros, times 10. So I have to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places to get back to where it belongs, and I want it to move it to the right, so it's positive 7. Okay, number 5, 120 is increased by 15%. What is the new number? Well, if we're increasing something by a certain percentage, we know we're taking it 100% of it, and we're increasing it by 15%, so we actually need to find 115% of that number. So 115% of 120 is 120 times 1.15. And when we do that, we get 138. Number 6, here we're dividing with fractions. I'm going to rewrite the first one as an improper fraction, 4 times 1 plus 3, so that's going to give me 7 over 4. And when we're dividing with a fraction, we take the reciprocal and multiply. So I have 7/4 times 3 halves. And so I end up with 21 over 8, and that's improper. 8 goes to 21 2 full times with 5 left over. So we end up with 2 5/8. All right, number 7, order of operations. Remember good old PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, adding and subtracting are last. So there's no parentheses, there's no exponents. So we go to the multiply and divide, whatever comes first from left to the right. So I'll have -2, that stays the same, and I'll do the 6 times 12. So I have -2 plus 72 divided by 3. Next we'll do the division. So I have -2 plus 72 divided by 3 is 24. And last we'll add our -2 plus our 24. So we get the answer of 22. Number 8, find the midpoint and the length of a line segment with endpoints at 1, 2, and -2, 3. Okay, so remember the midpoint, we're just going to find the average. So I find the average of the x-coordinates. So that's 1 plus -2 over 2. And then the y-coordinate for the midpoint will be the average of the y-coordinates. So that's 2 plus -3 all over 2. So 1 plus -2 is -1, so I get -1/2. 2 plus -3 is -1, so I also get -1/2 for the y-coordinate. So there's the coordinates for my midpoint. The length then we find by using the distance formula. Remember, the distance is the square root of the difference of the x-coordinates squared. So 1 take away -2 squared plus the difference of the y-coordinates squared. So 2 take away a -3 squared. 1 take away -2 makes that a +2, which is 3, and 3 squared is 9. This double negative makes that a plus, and that's going to be 5, and 5 squared is 25. And 25 plus 9 is 34. So our midpoint is at -1/2, -1/2, and our distance or length is square root of 34. Okay, here we have a rectangle that's length is 1 more than twice the width. So let's always draw a picture. So the length depends on the width. So I'm going to say my width is W, so my length is 1 more than twice that. Alright, so now I've got the lengths and widths represented in terms of one variable. The perimeter is 128 inches, so that means the distance around, so we need to add up all the sides, is 128. So I've got 4W, 5, 6W plus 2 is equal to 128 inches. So 6W is equal to 126, so W is equal to 21. But again, here they're asking us what is the length of the rectangle, so we need to answer the question. So the length is 2 times the width plus 1 more, so the length is 42 plus 1 more, so the length is 43 inches. In number 10, they're giving us a little function here. F of x is 3x squared minus 5. Find f of -5, so we simply plug that in. So f of -5 is going to be 3 times -5 squared minus 5. -5 squared is positive 25. 3 times 25 is 75, and 75 minus 5 is equal to 70. All right, number 11. Here we're squaring a binomial, so we've got to FOIL it. You've got to write it down twice. You can't just square each term in there. So using my FOIL, we've got 4x squared. We've got a minus 2x. We have another minus 2x and a plus 1. So our final answer is 4x squared minus 4x and then plus 1. 12, solving this inequality. Remember, you do the same thing as you would with an equation, except you have to remember to flip the inequality if you multiply or divide by a negative. So I'm going to start by adding 7 to each side, so negative 2x is greater than 12. And then I'm going to divide by a negative 2, so I get x. I have to flip the inequality, and 12 divided by negative 2 is a negative 6. So x is less than negative 6. Okay, simplifying this square root. Well, what you want to do is rewrite, since they're not perfect squares, rewrite everything with the largest perfect square factors. So 8 I'm going to rewrite as 4 times 2, and x to the 5th I'm going to rewrite as x to the 4th times x. Now I can take the square root of 4, that's 2, it comes out of the radical. The square root of x to the 4th is x squared, it comes out of the radical, and under my radical I'm left with a 2x. Alright, number 14. Okay, here we have a problem. We want to solve this, and our variable is in the exponent. Well, we're going to use this property. If I know that, let's say I have a number b raised to the x power is equal to b raised to the y power, then that tells me that x has to be equal to y. So we got to get these bases the same to use this property. Okay? Well, right now I have 4 for a base here and 16 for a base here. So I know I can write 16 as 4 squared. So I'm going to leave my 4 to the 2x alone. I'm going to rewrite 16 as 4 squared, and I'm still raising that to the 3x minus 1 power. Okay, so I'm raising a power. 2 power means we multiply the exponents. So my 4 to the 2x equals 4 to the 6x minus 2 power. Now I can use my property. I know that 2x is equal to 6x minus 2. So negative 4x is equal to negative 2. So x is equal to negative 2 over negative 4, which reduces to a positive 1/2. Okay, solving the system, I can see that if I add these equations together right away, I get rid of the y. So I'm going to do that. So 2x plus x is 3x, the y's are gone. 3x is equal to 9, so that tells me that x is equal to 3. And now to find y, I'm just going to go back to this equation. I know that 3 plus y is equal to 6, so y has to be equal to 3 also. So my ordered pair is 3, 3. X is 3 and y is 3. In 16, before you can simplify, you need to factor and cancel common factors. So my numerator is going to factor to x minus 2 times x minus 3. And my denominator just stays x minus 3. Now I can have common factors of x minus 3's. So x minus 2 is my final answer. 17, here we want to solve a quadratic. So you can use the quadratic formula or you can factor. I can see that this factors to x plus 5 times x minus 4. And I said each factor equal to 0. So when is x plus 5 equal to 0? When x is negative 5. When is x minus 4 equal to 0? So when x is 4. So there's my two solutions. In 18, we're simplifying, so this isn't too bad. I know 2 will go into 6 3 times. This x squared will take away 2 from up here. So I end up with an x to the first over 3. In 19, we're just asked to factor this one. So factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 1 would be a negative 4 and a positive 3. So x minus 4 and x plus 3. 20, we want to write equation of a line that contains these points. Well, if you remember, the equation of a line looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. We need the slope and the y-intercept. So first thing is always find your slope. And remember, that's the difference of the y-coordinates. So 3 take away a negative 1 over the difference of the x-coordinates. So 4 take away 2. So I'm going to get 4 over 2, which reduces to 2. So that's my slope. Next, let's find our b by picking one of these points, putting it into our general equation along with our slope, and solving it for b then. So I know that 3 is equal to 2 times 4 plus b. So 3 is equal to 8 plus b, so subtract 8. So negative 5 is equal to my b. All right, so there's my slope. There's my y-intercept, so my equation y equals 2x minus 5. Okay, 21, here you have two similar triangles. And when triangles are similar, their sides are in the same ratio, or they're proportional. So we're looking for this height here. So I know these two corresponding sides will be in the same ratio as these two corresponding sides. So 2 is to h as 3 is to 30. So cross multiplying, I get 3h is equal to 60. So h is equal to 20, and we're dealing with meters here, so the height of the tree is 20 meters. Okay, the last one. Here you need to use one of your trig ratios. If you remember SOHCAHTOA, the sine ratio is the opposite over the hypotenuse, the cosine ratio is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and the tangent ratio is the opposite over the adjacent. And this is for any right triangle. So I've got this angle, I'm trying to find the side opposite the angle, and I have the hypotenuse. So the one that used the opposite and hypotenuse is the sine ratio. So I know that the sine of my 53-degree angle is equal to x over 15. And all they ask us to do is write an equation to find x, and there it is. Okay, that's the end of the post review. Oh, well, let's take a look at this. Here we have looks like a poker chip, and it's a cylinder basically, a nice little flat cylinder. And if you remember, you find the volume of a cylinder by this little formula, pi r squared h, where r is the radius and h is the height of the cylinder. Well, let's suppose we said our radius was z and our height is a. Then our volume becomes pi times the radius squared times the height. Oh, pizza. Makes me kind of hungry. See you later.